Buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Allyson Browne y soy la directora de la campaña climática para puertos en Pacific Environment. Muchas gracias a los patrocinadores por invitarme a hablar hoy sobre puertos azules. Estaré compartiendo nuestra campaña Puertos para la Gente, que es una campaña local a global para acabar con la contaminación portuaria y marítima. Gracias por estar aquí hoy y por favor conéctese conmigo después de la conferencia. Espero conocerte. Junto con las comunidades locales, aliados y socios, Puertos para la Gente busca transformar los puertos de puntos críticos de contaminación por combustibles fósiles en centros prósperos de desarrollo económico sostenible y protección ambiental. Together with local communities, allies, and partners, Ports for People seeks to transform ports from hotspots of fossil fuel pollution to thriving hubs of sustainable economic development and environmental protection. Our goals are to stop ports' fossil fuel build-out, including stopping new fossil fuel bunkering projects and accelerating port electrification and zero-emission fueling where needed. Putting ships on mandatory zero-emission pathways, to influence ports and port states around the Pacific Rim to implement our 9-point ports playbook for zero-emission shipping, and to create zero-emission trade routes, mobilizing port pairs to create zero-emission shipping corridors and advance a common standards and investment framework to verifiably achieve them. These commitments include a commitment to end all port pollution from ships by 2040, to create or join zero-emission shipping corridors, and to abandon all fossil fuel projects. Our policy recommendations include setting zero-emission deadlines for all ships, rewarding first movers and attracting the world's cleanest ships to port, and reducing emissions from existing ship calls. We encourage ports and port states to take progress action to electrify everything possible, to provide clean energy and reliable fueling for zero-emission cargo ships, and to center community and worker oversight in the energy transition. This transition requires a closed feedback loop of zero-emission policy and regulations, Port Zero-Emission Action Plan, comprehensive ongoing community engagement, support for demonstration projects, and development and implementation of the technology, infrastructure, policy, and programs necessary to advance this transition. Our campaign prioritizes advancing policy and accelerating solutions, including advancing common standards and targets to level the playing field and encourage collaboration, maximizing funds for infrastructure development with unified prioritization to decarbonize shipping and reduce pollution, accelerating the adoption of electric shore power and zero-emission fuels, all of which helps send unified market signals to the cargo shipping value chain to accelerate uptake and the transition to zero-emission shipping. To advance our mission, we engage and support frontline communities and grassroots advocacy groups to develop partnerships and build coalitions that help amplify community voices and cultivate productive stakeholder dialogue. This work includes leading education and awareness campaigns to encourage community engagement. We also want to make sure that ports and port states are prioritizing people and the planet over profit by eliminating port and ship pollution for a sustainable future. This includes designing and integrating a sustainable, just, and equitable transition for port communities, port workers, and seafarers. Before diving into some of the challenges of our work and the opportunities that lie ahead, I wanted to take a moment to share some campaign highlights. We've helped pass the world's first zero-emission marine standard for commercial harbor craft in California, incorporated ports and shipping into a U.S. state and British Columbia Statement of Cooperation on Climate Action through the Pacific Coast Collaborative, introduced legislation in the U.S. Congress for shipping decarbonization and carbon levy just last month on World Oceans Day, June 8th, and we've secured billions of dollars to finance zero-emission shipping and port projects. It's likely no surprise to those of you in the room today that integrating community input into port decarbonization plans can present several challenges. These are the few of the challenges that we've been facing, and then I'll be sharing how we overcome them. First is diverse stakeholder interest. Communities surrounding ports often comprise diverse stakeholders, including residents, businesses, environmental groups, labor unions, and governments. Each group very likely has different priorities, concerns, and interests regarding decarbonization. Aligning and incorporating their input can be challenging due to conflicting viewpoints and priorities. Limited technical understanding. Port decarbonization involves complex technical and engineering aspects. Engaging community members who may not have a background in these areas can make it difficult to communicate the intricacies of decarbonization plans. Ensuring that this information is accessible, transparent, and effectively communicated is crucial for meaningful community participation. With respect to resource and time constraints, integrating community input requires time, resources, and expertise. Community engagement processes can be time-consuming and may involve conducting public meetings, workshops, surveys, and interviews. Ports and planning authorities may face limitations in terms of staff, budget, and time, making it challenging to allocate adequate resources to robustly involve the community. Port decarbonization plans also need to consider various factors or balance their priorities, including environmental impact, public health, economic feasibility, and social equity. Incorporating community input while balancing these priorities can be challenging. Different stakeholder groups may emphasize specific concerns, and finding a middle ground that satisfies as many parties as possible can be complex. For decision-making processes, integrating community input requires defining how it will be utilized in decision-making. Establishing mechanisms for meaningful influence and clarifying the extent to which community input will shape the final plans can be challenging. Decision-making structures must be transparent, accountable, and include feedback loops to ensure ongoing community engagement. Finally, technical feasibility and expertise presents an immense challenge. While community input is valuable, it must be balanced with technical feasibility. Port decarbonization plans require expertise in engineering, logistics, energy systems, and regulatory frameworks. Incorporating community input while considering the technical viability and compatibility of proposed solutions can pose challenges. Addressing these challenges necessitates a proactive and inclusive approach to community engagement. It involves building trust, ensuring effective communication, providing education and resources, fostering collaboration, and implementing processes that genuinely consider community input in the decision-making process. This is a pretty tall order. So, how do we help advance port and community collaboration? First, early and ongoing engagement. Ports need to engage the community early on and keep them involved throughout the planning process. It's important to maintain open lines of communication and to make sure that the information you provide is easy to understand. We encourage ports, port states, policymakers to use simple language and formats that are accessible to everyone. We also encourage targeted outreach and inclusivity. We must reach out to all segments of the community, including unrepresented groups, and be proactive in involving them by employing inclusive strategies like translation services and cultural sensitivities. To collaborate with different organizations, stakeholders, and community leaders, we have to make sure that the forum is an appropriate and welcoming place for diverse voices to be heard and valued. We also need capacity building and education to provide educational opportunities and workshops to empower community members with knowledge about decarbonization. This will enable them to contribute more effectively. We also must foster long-term engagement by maintaining open channels of communication, providing regular updates, and seeking ongoing feedback. In consideration of community concerns, we encourage ports to conduct thorough assessments to identify potential impacts of decarbonization plans, develop mitigation measures to address community concern, and ensure their voices are heard. We must strive to strike a balance between the different priorities, such as environmental impact, public health, economic feasibility, and social equity. To ensure a transparent decision-making and feedback loops, we really encourage ports to be transparent about how community input will be considered in the decision-making process. Let them know how their ideas and concerns will be used to shape decarbonization plans and establish feedback loops to keep the community informed about how their input has been incorporated into the plans. Finally, we encourage flexibility and adaptability to remain open to new ideas and suggestions from the community, be willing to adjust plans based on their feedback, and incorporate their innovative solutions. We also have to allow for course corrections along the way. This flexibility ensures that the decarbonization plans can better reflect the community's needs and aspirations as they change over time. By implementing these strategies, ports can ensure that communities' input is integrated effectively into decarbonization planning while fostering transparency, inclusivity, and sustainable decision-making. Now that we've discussed some of the challenges that we face at the local level, I want to zoom out a bit and talk about opportunities for regional collaboration between Canada, the US, and Mexico. Trilateral cooperation in this sector has a myriad of potential opportunities and benefits. The advantages of collaboration are many, including exchanging of best practices, addressing shared challenges, and leveraging economies of scale. Collaboration would allow ports to share knowledge and experiences, optimize operations, improve efficiency, and reduce costs. It would enable joint strategies to tackle common issues, including climate change, but also air quality, innovation, and security. By working together across borders, we can ensure leveraging economies of scale, attracting investment, and promoting harmonized regulations and standards. Cooperation would also help with collective advocacy and influence, most notably a unified voice and global forum. Collaboration would empower ports to represent their interests with a unified voice in international forums and negotiations, including the International Maritime Organization. By doing so, we can help shape supportive policies that support the growth, sustainability, and competitiveness of the entire region. We can also help strengthen connectivity and trade flows, including streamlining customs and regulations. By collaborating on regulatory frameworks, customs procedures, and infrastructure planning, we can enhance trade flow and connectivity among ports. We can also enhance our global competitiveness by strengthening the competitiveness of North American ports in the global marketplace. By working together to decarbonize this sector, we can also have knowledge sharing and innovation, including the exchange of ideas. Collaboration fosters platforms for dialogue, joint research, and collaborative projects, facilitating knowledge sharing and innovation. We can also align technology adoption. Collaborating on technology adoption and implementation ensures compatibility and efficiency across ports. Finally, economic growth and resilience. There are mutual economic benefits available to us through collaboration, which drives sustainable economic growth and fosters resilience across the region, benefiting all participating nations. And this work could help position us as global leaders. By collaborating regionally, North American ports can establish themselves as global leaders in decarbonizing the maritime industry. If you're interested in learning more about how Canada, the US, and Mexico can work together to advance sustainable zero-emission ports and shipping, please reach out to me. Thanks so much for all of you who joined today, and thank you to my counterparts on this panel. I wish I could have been there with you all. Really appreciate everyone joining for this critical conversation on advancing the blue economy in Mexico and beyond. I really do hope you'll join the Ports for People campaign. Please do reach out. My name, email, and our website are on my slides. And you can also download our Ports Playbook for Zero Emission Shipping on our website, with the links to our English, Spanish, and other language versions of the playbook here. Thanks so much. Gracias a todos. Hasta luego.